everyone, I'm your host Pensyfan19 and welcome to the June 2023 Pensyfan Periodical. This is a monthly news series which covers most of the major railroading headlines from around the world, as well as my opinions on them. We have a lot of articles to go over today, so with that in mind, let's get rolling. First off, we have a new round of funding for a whole bunch of rail projects as the US DOT just passed a RACE grant as part of the infrastructure bill passed in 2021. Most of these projects received up to $30 million in funding, with many of them including small-scale bridge and grade crossing replacement projects in smaller towns. But notably included in this package are a handful of existing and proposed passenger rail projects, including $20 million for Fresno Station by preparing it for California high-speed rail, meaning Fresno will be the first new city in the system to receive a dedicated high-speed rail station. In the same state, $25 million will go towards Brightline West for final designs of stations and facilities in Hesperia and Victor Valley. Very interesting that they gave more funding to the somewhat privately owned Brightline West instead of California's state-owned high-speed rail project. Track improvement projects include $11.6 million for installing heavier rails on the Hoosier Southern Railroad, along with $18 million for double-tracking Austin's Capital Metro Rail Red Line. Station renovations include $20 million for Michizania Station for Baltimore's Metro Subway Link, along with $24.8 million for a downtown transit center for New Orleans. And most interestingly, $4.5 million for a Kansas City commuter rail study, thus making this massive project one step closer to reality. Overall, it's great to see that more rail projects across the US are finally starting to receive and utilize the funding granted to them from the infrastructure bill. And even though this doesn't cover every project in the country, it's still a pretty good start, and hopefully it'll set a precedent for more frequent funding for more rail projects nationwide. Speaking of which, here's some interesting news. Medway could purchase Italo, Europe's fastest high-speed rail service operating at 187 miles per hour. A Captrain Vectron celebrated 2 anniversaries in one livery. SBB 46010 is Swiss-sustainable. CPKC is to partner with CSX to develop and hopefully rebuild hydrogen-powered locomotives, while the two railroads are also said to split the Meridian and Bigby Railroad. A segment of I-95 collapsed in Philadelphia, resulting in temporarily increased SEPTA service on the Trenton line. Coaster is to sell 5 coaches as well as 2 of its new Siemens Chargers after only being on the railroad for a month. An ex-Metrolink F59PH has entered service as West Coast Express number 907. Norfolk Southern placed multiple Union logos on a Dash 9 for a press conference, only for the engine to soon be repainted into regular colors. The Pennsylvania and Southern Railway has repainted an SW1200RS into a 250th anniversary livery, thus being the first railroad to celebrate America's 250th birthday. The last remaining RTG turboliner has been scrapped. Taylor Swift encouraged a mass usage of public transport for artists this year in concert. Autonomous Intermodals LLC has been launched to build 12-axle autonomous railcars that move intermodal containers. Australia has created a high-speed rail authority. A Finnish broad gauge engine has been restored, painted in the BR green, and named Lady Patricia. And Union Pacific 4014 pushed a stalled freight train in Nebraska, thus being a very rare engine of an excursion engine, let alone the big boy, carrying a revenue freight move. Now here's a follow-up news section for articles covering stories from previous episodes. The notice of proceed has been given to commence work for the Penn Station redesign, specifically the one with the glass canopy between Madison Square Garden and 1 Penn. Construction has started for Cambridge South Station. The first British Rail Class 93s have been constructed. Caltrain Sadler Flirts has commenced testing. The Alstom Island has entered revenue testing service on the Chemin de Fer Charlevoix in Quebec. Genesee in Wyoming is to receive Dash 8s and Dash 9s to replace older EMD engines on various subsidiaries. Norfolk Southern has purchased CEFX AC4400CW leasers due to an equipment shortage. And CSX has released the next 2 heritage units utilizing the Fade concept, specifically the railroad's direct predecessors, the Seaboard System and Chesty System. Although, the Chesty System unit got so much criticism that some rail fans started a petition to repaint the unit to a traditional full-on heritage unit instead of utilizing the Fade scheme. But I for one do not agree with this sentiment, and I'm grateful that we at least got something. As of now, the Chesty System unit is actually my favorite of the 3, as I feel the B&O unit is a bit off when it comes to proportions, as explained in the last episode, and the logos towards the bottom makes it look like too much is going on. Now that we have the 3 most significant railroads in the history of CSX, I wonder which unit we'll hopefully get next, with some guessing Chesapeake and Ohio or Conrail, but whatever unit comes next, I can't wait for CSX to release more units as much needed colorful additions to a sea of blue. In other news, BNSF has donated B40-8W number 537 to Railroading Heritage of Midwest America, thus being the second GE wide cab engine in preservation. The Center for Rail Photography and Art is to release a digital archive. GO Transit is to extend the Lakeshore East Line to Bowmanville while they're ending their London pilot service. Canadian National has been named Best Corporate Citizen. Corn has been named America's Favorite Vegetable. The NYC Subway celebrated the 100th anniversary of the BMT with an excursion of BMT AB standards, while Alstom and TransPennine Express have celebrated the 200th anniversary of Stevenson Locomotive Works. BMC has completed its 200 TEM 18DM locomotive. Sicaria National EMU has entered service on TCCD. Alstom's Lumiere has commenced service as they release designs of the Singapore Metro Movia. Alstom has also revealed Coradia streams for OBB, Rodalies, and Renfe, the last of which is also set to purchase CAF Civities. LTG is to purchase Stadler-Flirt EMUs and BMUs, while 2 Italian railways are to purchase hydrogen-powered newer Stadler-Flirts, with nearby Milan purchasing overhead wire-powered Stadler LRVs. CRRC has unveiled the world's most powerful hydrogen-powered train, while they also revealed battery-powered EMUs for Argentina. Horizon is to convert their 4000 class engines to run on batteries. Novabus has ended production in the US. Skoda is to make small autonomous pods. Taiwan Railways is to purchase Shinkansen N700 train sets. Hyundai Rotem is to produce new EMUs for Queensland. 66023 has been repainted to celebrate the King's coronation a few months late. And Honolulu Skyline has finally commenced revenue service after starting construction in 2011, thus being the first passenger rail service in Hawaii for decades. And happy 39th anniversary to Metra. After all that, it is now time for this month's meme of the month. This month's meme of the month is Buttercar. And now, the top story of the June 2023 Pensyfan Periodical is CPKC chooses an official livery. After months of custom liveries predicting what the new railroad would look like after the merger announcement, Canadian Pacific Kansas City has selected one of 5 liveries from a vote held by their employees earlier in the month. The 5 options were soon spread all across the railfan community as they commented on which livery they wanted to have, with some recommending combinations of other liveries, but popular favorites were options 1, 3, and 5. A few weeks later, Cesar Vergara, the designer of the GE Genesis among other locomotives and liveries, released some of his own unofficial concept art for CPKC, receiving much mixed but mostly negative reactions from rail fans due to looking nothing like the previous 2 railroads. But by the end of the month, CPKC revealed that option 1 won the vote during an Investors Day event due to disappointment of many rail fans and compared it to the AWVR livery from Unstoppable, despite many of them previously showing support for this option. I happen to agree with this sentiment as my preferred options were 3 and 5, as the first option looks too similar to the existing CP Rail paint scheme and somewhat lacks the KCS aspect of the merger, namely a lack of yellow. Despite the final livery being chosen by CPKC employees, I can't help but feel that this selection was unintentionally symbolic of how CPKC involves much more Canadian Pacific than Kansas City Southern, as CP has done much more advertising and kept much more of its brand than Kansas City Southern in my opinion. Regardless of how the final paint scheme wasn't the fan favorite, I still wish CPKC the best of luck in this new era of railroading, as this new railroad will still have much of its power in their existing liveries for at least the next few years, as I'm interested to see what they'll do next. Who knows, maybe we'll see some predecessor heritage units like CN or CSX? Thank you everyone for watching this month's episode of the Pensyfan Periodical. There have been a lot of rail news headlines for the month, and it will be very interesting to see what the future has in store for all of these articles. Thank you again for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have a good day.